GG, I had to go back out to the truck and grab shit.
And we lit.
Got some Lay's for the later times. OMG. So we are gonna roll up real quick before we get into this video. But I'm kind of interested, you know what I mean? Like, how bad are these interviews? And not only how bad are these interviews, but like, are any of these interviews a Nardwuar interview? We're asking real questions right now. It's the real question hours of the day. We're gonna do some ASMR on me ripping this Fronto strip real quick.
Yeah.
I hope that y'all heard that. I hope that was extremely high definition, high quality audio. Me ripping this Fronto strip. Yep. I hope you heard that. Alright. Ooh. Yeah, buddy. Alright, now that the Fronto has been stripped, we just gotta cook it. Put it in the oven real quick, super quick. Cooked. Officially cooked. You see that? That's what we call prime, just came out of the oven. Let me take one of these, right? And one of these, and put them together. Line them up so they're just nice, just right, just nice. My English ain't Englishin', but you know exactly what I'm saying right now. We're gonna line that up like so. Toss that in there expeditiously, if you will. Toss the mouthpiece in here. Now the mouthpiece we're gonna put like halfway. Yeah. This became like learning how to roll class real quick. Because we are going to spread out that gangers. Spread out the gangers. Now, we're going to push in the filter ever so slightly while we form this edge. We're going to form this edge and slide filter at the same time. Some may say it's hard to do, however, it's not that hard. Alright. Now, here's where it gets real funky. Try and get that in one go. I dropped a little bit of gangers. A little bit of gangers. Pow! Wait. That was a pre-pow. Pre-pow. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Pow! Alright. Alright, we're doing good. We're gonna slow fade this out ever so slightly. You like that? That's with the mouse! You think I'm out here Nah, I'm not doing any of that. That was strictly the mouse. Because I'm a savage like that. Come on now. Alright. On to the next one. And we're doing it. Or are we doing it like this? Nah, that's kind of whack. We're doing it like this. This is where it's at, right here. Except for, I have to fix this. You know? Yep. That's what we're looking at right here, right now. We're gonna full screen this, John. We're gonna take my live overlay, and we're gonna make that just ever so slightly smaller. That might be too small. We're gonna move me like over here. But that's looking a little more kosher. A little more kosher. Mom delivering pizza pie. We love that. I need more joint. I'm gonna be eating pie. Alrighty then. Hydrate or dihydrate. And so it begins.
From crazy out-of-pocket and personal questions to people leaving and interviewers just straight up hating, there have been plenty of interviews that have gone wrong in rap. So today we're going to be looking into some of these terrible interviews, starting off with Logic on The Breakfast Club. Real quick, I want to say, I know I'm pretty late, but thank you guys for...
I knew for a fact there was going to be some Breakfast Club shit. Breakfast Club, I'm calling it right now. Breakfast Club, Adam 22, dare I say, like some type of, who am I thinking right now? The Joe Budden podcast.
400K. I haven't said
calling that right now
yet because I've been sick, but I really do appreciate you guys. And we're on the road to 1 million, so make sure to subscribe and stick around. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So Logic, like many others on this list, has also been tied to tons of controversies, but usually in his case it ends up with him getting clowned. And that's what makes his interviews with The Breakfast Club even more interesting, because instead of the usual anti-Logic response from the public, people actually took his side following these interviews. It all started in 2014 when Logic went on Breakfast Club for the first time and made sure to point out how big of a deal it was and how grateful he was to be there. But immediately, Charlamagne tha God set the tone in an odd way, going straight after Logic being biracial.
This is what I mean. Like, Charlamagne really just be saying shit for no reason.
If you didn't know, Logic stresses a ton that he's biracial, and it's a very obviously a very big deal to him, so Charlamagne knew what he was doing. But Logic remained calm and kept the interview flowing without trying to argue too much, and things seemed normal, but every once in a while, Charlamagne would either just come at Logic or just act disrespectful in a weirdly casual way about some pretty sensitive topics. The main thing that Charlemagne kept doing, though, was comparing Logic to J. Cole and Kendrick. Then minutes later told him to never compare himself to others, which was very hypocritical. And then when discussing Logic's rough upbringing, Charlemagne asked what some viewers call the worst interview question ever. Somehow Logic was able to keep his cool through this whole interview and didn't really have any issues during the actual interview, but pretty much every single comment on the video.
What did he ask, like, for verbatim? No, I already missed it.
And asked what some viewers call the worst interview question ever. And asked what some viewers call the worst interview question ever.
Charlemagne, what the fuck, bruh? This man is so out of pocket.
Somehow Logic was able to keep his cool through this whole interview and didn't really have any issues during the actual interview, but pretty much every single comment on the video was talking about how much of a hater Charlemagne was and how disrespectful he was acting. They also pointed out how well Logic was handling the awkwardness throughout the entire interview. But what's even more surprising is that Logic again appeared on The Breakfast Club just a year later, even after the question about his sister and all the other disrespect. And in this interview, things seemed to pick up right where they left off, with Charlemagne again comparing Logic and his music to Kendrick.
I'm literally not even surprised.
And others basically saying he was just biting.
All right.
Now, one thing I noticed about this album, well, I noticed it with the last album. The last album sounds a lot like Good Kid, Mad City. Like a lot of your flows is like real Kendrick.
I wouldn't say it's the flows. I say probably.
I mean, even on this album, you sound a lot like Kendrick, a lot like Cole, even Drake at times.
At times, I guess you could say that.
Again, Logic remained cool and respectful the whole time, and he was actually being nice to Charlemagne. And ironically, after Logic was saying some nice things to Charlemagne, he asked another kind of crazy question.
Now, I saw you do an interview with Vlad TV, and you said that it would be very uncomfortable for you to listen to a gay rapper talking about kissing a dude.
Did I say that?
I don't know.
I thought you said you saw it, Charlemagne.
I said that.
Yeah, you said you saw it on
I
Vlad
don't
TV.
think I said that because
I don't think Logic said that either.
I believe in all
make
people.
that up.
I will say I don't know exactly how that got written.
Just like with the sister,
Like, bruh.
Logic kept calm and was shooting down the homophobia accusations, which was connected to an old tweet, and then he moved the interview forward. But Charlemagne continued being Charlemagne. Like, immediately after this heartfelt explanation of the meaning behind Logic's music, Charlemagne just kept trolling him.
So that when those people are out there fighting the good fight and they go home frustrated and tired and just feeling like they want to take a life themselves, hopefully they can find peace and escape in my music to fight another day.
So what are you doing for the Black Lives Matter?
I'm being me. I'm surviving, mother. I'm me. I'm half black. I'm a part of this culture. What you talking about?
Well, the interview ended in a pretty good way with seemingly no animosity. All of the commenters were turning on Charlemagne, talking about how rude he was, and Logic fans clearly were not happy with him. For a while, though, it seemed like nothing really big came of these interviews other than the response from the fans. However, this all changed in 2019 when Logic dropped his song titled Clickbait. In the song, he says, "I don't do the Breakfast Club because Charlemagne is shameless. That's the only one I leave out when I run my bases. Do your research before you call somebody homophobic. You make a living off of controversy and you know it." In response to this verse, Charlemagne made Logic the donkey of the day, which is just a segment they have on the Breakfast Club where they highlight people doing stupid things.
Donkey today for Friday, May 10th goes to a young biracial rapper named Sir Robert Bryson Hall II, known to the world as Logic. I don't have anything against Logic. I don't know Logic personally. Met him a couple times when he came to the Breakfast Club. Don't listen to his music. Don't find him appealing. In fact, I am so committed to not listening to Logic that he once put my favorite hip-hop group of all time, Wu-Tang Clan, on the record, and I did not listen.
And of course, in this segment, Charlemagne was just roasting Logic even more. Charlemagne also broke down the lyrics, saying that he agrees he's shameless, but pointing out that the reason Logic hasn't been on isn't by choice, but rather the fact that no one really wants him on anyway. Charlemagne just said that the diss track was made for attention and that there was no real beef. After this, there had been a few brief mentions of one another in other interviews, but the sentiment pretty much remained the same. And while Logic was favored by the fans in this incident, Kanye did not get the same reception when he went on Sway. Nowadays, when you think about Kanye, there's a ton of really serious controversies that come to mind. I'm sure I don't need to name them, but his rants and outbursts.
Not the Kanye Sway, yo. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yo, how could I even forget about this? To be honest, I completely forgot about this one.
Are nothing new. From his MTV outburst to maybe his most iconic rant of all time at the VMAs. Kanye's pretty much been controversial throughout his entire career. So among all of his other viral moments, you may have forgotten one of his most iconic, his interview on Sway in the Morning. In 2013, arguably during the peak of Kanye's career, he went
You
on
don't
Sway
have
in the
the
Morning. And
answers,
if you don't know much
Sway.
about Sway, he's been hosting a radio show for about 14 years after working as a rapper and a music journalist with MTV. But now, after being a mainstream staple in the industry for over 20 years, Sway's mostly known as a radio personality. And despite Kanye and Sway being friends for a while, there was actually a little bit of animosity that led up to this interview. Basically, MTV put out their hottest MCs in the game list and placed Kanye at number 7, which obviously did not sit well with him. In response, Kanye called in the DJ Enough's show to voice his opinions, especially about Sway's influence on the list.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I mean, I gave Sway his first TV, man.
Right.
And really, I didn't really want to, like, even call to, like, even talk about the number 7 list. I just want to tell everybody I gave Sway his first TV.
Right.
And he needed to remember that.
After that, Sway decided to clarify that while he had helped create the idea for the list, he didn't actually vote to avoid something like this happening. Instead, the final rankings were a compilation of lists from actual voters. And Sway also said that the TV thing was real, but that Kanye told the story in a biased way. So, about a month later, after all this went down, Sway decided to have Kanye on his show. Eventually, the conversation got on to fashion and things like Kanye's clothing brands. They had made jokes about the MTV situation, so it seemed like everything was fine. But then Sway began asking Kanye about why he needs the help of big clothing brands in building his own, and this is where the tension began.
Why is it that you need these people? It's like you said, you don't need anybody to do these things. You don't need Adidas if you want to do a new shoe.
Yes, you do.
Why?
Because you need proper production to bring some of that certain value. I went 13 million in debt working on my clothing line, and I'm getting Kanye Wested constantly with the prices.
At first, Kanye responded in a calm way, explaining in a long-winded rant how he's been trying but losing lots of money in the process. And he just kept getting all mad about how these big brands are taking advantage of him, but he needs them for distribution.
Or why don't you empower yourself and don't need them and do it yourself?
How, Sway?
Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Kanye.
I've been doing this more than you.
Doing what?
You ain't got.
You ain't got the answers, Sway.
You ain't got the answers.
I'm asking you
You
a
ain't been
question.
doing the education.
Bro,
You ain't been doing the education.
You ain't been doing the
You ain't got
education.
the answers, though.
Calm down.
Because you trying to give me advice about
No,
something.
no, no,
you
no,
ain't
no.
you ain't
Listen.
got the answer. You ain't spent $13 million a year.
You ain't been doing the education.
Yes, but I spent hundreds of thousands and putting out clothing lines at a smaller degree. All I'm asking you,
And it ain't no Ralph's, though. It ain't Ralph
but
level.
Let me ask you this. I'm asking
What's the
you.
name of your clothing line? We don't know.
After this, Kanye decided to compare his issues to that of Harriet Tubman or even the French Revolution.
Of course
And
he did.
Eventually apologize. But even with that, for the rest of the interview, he couldn't really ignore what
That's
had
crazy.
happened. Plus, you could tell that Kanye was still a little pissed about the MTV's hottest list.
Y'all putting me number 6 after Big Sean on the hip hop list. My
man,
rep,
you
my,
really give a.
my
I mean,
no.
but, man, I
But
mean,
what I'm
listen,
saying, my
let me say-
relevancy. That
Man,
means
okay.
because I'm wearing a kilt or because I'm doing
Nah,
something
man, that
that's
ain't why you
gaining.
came number 6. At the time we did the show,
What you think now, though?
If we
What
did it
you
now,
think now?
you'd be number 1.
What you think now, though?
This way, kind of continued going back and forth throughout this entire interview, but there was no more big explosions like the one previously. Most of the comments on the video are actually about how Sway handled this interview with grace and was super calm the whole time and did a great job at de-escalating the situation. And the two eventually ended with a pretty lighthearted, goofy freestyle, and it seemed like they squashed any potential beef. It seemed like there were no leftover problems. But years later, this situation would actually be brought up a few more times. In a 2022 interview with Good Morning America, Kanye finally admitted that Sway indeed had the answer.
So Sway, almost 10 years ago, said, hey, why don't you do it on your own? Was he right?
You know what? I will go ahead and say Sway had the answer. I know people are gonna be like, no.
And while Kanye was able to admit that he was actually in the wrong, the situation
I'm
with Migos,
dead.
Academics, and Joe Budden was not so cut and dry.
Of course it was Joe Budden.
Migos dropped their biggest
Called it.
biggest song to date, Bad and Bougie, which launched them into a much more mainstream audience.
Yep.
And with this new level of success, naturally came a lot of people wanting to interview the group. So, at the 2017 BET Awards, the Migos sat down for an interview hosted by Complex with Academics, Devendra Alexis, and Joe Budden. By the time the Migos were up, Ak, Joe, and Devendra had already been hosting the show and interviewing other artists for about an hour. But when the Migos arrived, the vibe completely changed. Joe Budden, who previously was very talkative with other artists, went mute and shifted his posture in a pretty defensive way. Besides the obvious animosity with Joe, the interview started mostly normal with Ak driving the conversation about the group's newfound level of success. However, after about a minute, Ak shifted the conversation and asked Takeoff in a pretty lighthearted way why he was left off Bad and Bougie. And this is when things started.
Listen. Joe Budden is such a little bitch for that interview, bro. Yo, don't even get me started. I'm fucking on my English about it. Like, bro. How's he gonna sit there like this? Watch. He's gonna sit there like this. He gonna sit there like that and interview dudes making millions of dollars right now. Because of their music. Because people are vibing with their music. The whole thing that you're talking about right now. Like Joe Budden, I'm sorry, you may have been somebody at some point, but who are you right now? You're making money off of people subbing in your podcast. And whatever fucking side hustles you got going on right now, probably because of the fact that you've been in the game for fucking like decades at this point. Like, you're tenured in and you're living off of subs. What are you doing? You're over here causing a fucking scene in front of the Migos. Make it make sense. Like, look at this.
Way. Besides the obvious animosity with Joe, the interview started mostly normal.
Acting like he said something right there.
About the group's newfound level of success. However, after about a minute, Ak shifted the conversation and asked Takeoff in a pretty lighthearted way why he was left off Bad and Bougie. And this is when things started to get awkward.
I feel like there's like a running joke with you being left off Bad and Bougie.
I ain't left off Bad and Bougie. You think I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
Say again?
You say I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
What you say?
You say I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
Yeah.
Do it look like I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
What'd you say?
Do it look like I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
Nah.
Obviously, this question could be taken as a jab since Bad and Bougie was the group's biggest song. But to be fair, Ak asked a question that all of us were wondering because Takeoff is a really good rapper, and for him to not be on such a good song had all the fans wondering why. However, Academics noticed that his question potentially upset the Migos, so he pivoted and started praising them again. But then Joe became even more visually frustrated and insisted that the interview be wrapped up.
One thing I like about the group, because ever since when you were in jail, even though you might see one or the other, y'all move as a collective.
All right, we got to wrap this up, though.
My bad. Have to try to jump.
Wrap it up then.
Close it.
At this point, the tension between Joe and the Migos became impossible to ignore, so Ak tried to
Close it!
by continuing
Close
to
it!
him, but Joe wasn't having it.
We need it off now!
Longer, man, it's one of my favorite groups. I've been covering for so long. I'm glad they succeeded.
Hey, man, you guys are nominated tonight. Have a good show.
Wait. No, wait. Chill.
So with Joe clearly having enough of the interview, he just got up and left, which clearly upset the Migos.
Pussy!
It seemed like in that clip, too, that there could have been some sort of fight going on, and that's what fans were cheering.
Bruh. Joe Budden causing a fucking scene like that. For literally no reasons. He doesn't like then don't like it. But to cause a fucking scene like that is crazy. And then to act like they're just supposed to take it is even crazier. Like, what an ego you must have. That's wild.
But luckily, the situation was de-escalated. However, the story doesn't end there. Complex still had Ak, Joe, and Devendra lined up to interview DJ Drama. So when things fully calmed down and the interview was set up, they continued on and acknowledged what happened.
All right, guys, we got DJ Drama with us right now. Drama, we just had a very how do I call this? Intense moment.
It wasn't no drama here.
It was an awkward interview with the Migos. He drops the mic, walked off, and then they try to jump you.
I don't want.
What just happened?
Yo, drama looks like he living good, man.
Instantly, these clips of the interview went viral, and it was the only thing people were talking about for days. And they had a lot of theories and speculation as to why this happened and what happened. So Joe Budden decided to address the situation. First, he tweeted a bit where he didn't give much explanation besides saying he has no regrets. Then, on a radio show with DJ Caesar Joe, he further explained his side.
Why drop the mic?
That was a bit unconventional.
Yeah.
It was.
But your whole.
Unconventional? You mean a little bit of a overreaction? Maybe perhaps a little, dare I say, bitch me? Cause
I didn't look like they
I didn't want to talk to them.
Why?
I've never seen
Why?
this before. But when people are not enthusiastic,
you instigated a bad Migos interview.
you're not just going to give me your rear end. Yeah, so I feel like I needed them to know how I felt before that interview was over.
Yeah.
Because I might not ever see them again.
Yeah.
So I got up and walked away from that damn interview.
He also clarified that no fight broke out. As months passed, it seemed like, everything was swept under the rug, everything was going fine. But then the Migos teased their next album, and in this snippet, they dissed Joe Budden. Again, Joe came back with some tweets, and again, he also decided to hop online to further explain. He said on his show, Everyday Struggle, that he thinks maybe because of how he treated Yachty is why the Migos were closed off. After this, though, the beef seemingly fizzled away. But fans still had wondered if there was like a deeper meaning behind the whole situation. And their suspicions were confirmed years later.
By the way, they got that. That's probably why it fizzled away, because everybody was like, true.
When Academics appeared on Aiden Ross's stream and was asked by a fan if he had any beef with Joe Budden. Academics said no, he has no beef, but then Aiden asked him about the situation with the Migos. So Academics decided to explain the entire situation and what actually happened behind the scenes. First, he explained that Joe seems to have some discontentment towards the Migos due to his hate for mumble rappers. But then things get a little deeper when he points out that Lil Yachty, who Joe had extensive beef with, was signed to the same label as the Migos.
Now, you see this guy right here?
Yeah.
I don't know if they can see the mouse, but this guy right here is the owner of the label that the Migos and Yachty's on. Got it.
And before Ack even tells his story, he low-key alluded to this years ago on Everyday Struggle.
Joe plays dumb, but Joe knows all of the elements behind the scenes that played a part in the BET Awards moment happening, and he knows and is fully aware of things afterwards and conversations that were had.
Ack continued to say that that guy and his friends pressed Joe about how he was talking about Yachty. Then the next day at BET, Ack said the label tried to intimidate Joe again. Then he explained what happened right before the interview started.
Joe goes to shake their hand, and he extends his arm, and they were like synchronized. They all looked him in the face, looked at his, like, all three, and looked him right back in the face like, we're not shaking your hand.
So it made way more sense why that interview went the way it did. Shortly after Ack did this explanation with Aiden, the Migos actually explained their side of the events on Drink Champs. Basically, they just said that on their end, Joe looked negative from the get-go, and they didn't appreciate Ack's question. But like Quavo and Takeoff said, there doesn't appear to be any more beef or issues between the two and Joe. So while the Migos and Joe Budden never really got any backlash for this interview, DJ Khaled actually got a crazy amount for his interview on Hot Ones. These days, it seems like most people have turned their backs on DJ Khaled, which may be for many good reasons.
Did bro really say Hot Ones? Tell me DJ Khaled caused the scene on Hot Ones.
For example, in 2015, DJ Khaled went on Hot Ones hosted by Sean Evans. Basically, if you don't know what Hot Ones is, it's an interview where there's a bunch of wings and they progressively get hotter throughout the whole interview. At this point in his career, most fans didn't have too many issues with Khaled, and if they did, that hate only grew, especially after this interview. DJ Khaled was the season 1 finale guest and had Sean along with fans of the show full of anticipation. The episode started normally with Sean praising Khaled and thanking him for coming on, and Khaled even flew in his personal chef to provide the wings for the interview. So you would think at some level he was at least excited or prepared. Before the interview started, Sean stated that the rules were that if you finish all the wings, then you can plug whatever project you have going on at the end, which at the time for Khaled was a new album. Then they began the interview and started with with the first wing. Of course, DJ Khaled starts off acting all cocky like he normally does, but then the first wing hit him, and Khaled's reaction came with some nice foreshadowing.
This is the first one. This is the weakest wing, bro.
No, I'm just keeping it real though.
All right, well, I'm just telling you, you got some trouble on the horizon.
I'm with you, my brother. That's part of the game. It's called life, trials and tribulations. It never says who you are.
No. We're gonna go through some bumps. There's gonna be some peaks and valleys. This is gonna be an emotional roller coaster, Khaled.
I'm with you, my brother.
All right, you ready for number 2?
They continued on with the interview talking about Khaled's restaurant and other business ventures. This is when Khaled really started doubling down on the cocky tone, which seemed to keep growing throughout the whole interview. But then they hit the second wing, and it also started to appear more obvious that Khaled was feeling the pressure. But DJ Khaled pushed on with his usual attempt to be inspiring, except now he had a speech impediment from all the spice. Then, about only 4 minutes into the interview, Khaled asked to switch wings with Sean because he thought that his were hotter. This is also when Khaled dropped the iconically cocky, "I promise you if I stop, it doesn't mean I gave up" line, followed by more BS and probably the longest excuse-filled quit you've ever seen.
Yo, bro, is yours different than mine? I want to switch.
All right.
Hot ones first. This something ain't right.
There you go.
Listen, and let me tell you something right now for all my fans. I promise you, if I stop, doesn't mean I gave up.
Yes, it does. By definition.
I'm gonna teach you something today.
Okay.
We can't play ourselves. We can't play our health. We can't hurt ourselves. See, that's the key. Now, there's people that will do dumb shit, fuck around, hurt themselves trying to get to the, what you call a victory. This shit ain't no victory to me, my brother. This shit ain't doing nothing but me but causing problems to me. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not doing it, man. Like, I'll answer your question, but.
But I'll have to eat your wings. All right. I can do that.
I can't. Nah, I'm gonna be fucked up for the whole day. I'm supposed to talk to anybody after this.
Could you just tell the people, though? Could you tell the people?
Let me tell you something. It's very important we teach the youth because this right here is dangerous.
Tell
I
people
can't.
that this is like some joke.
No, this ain't no
these
joke.
things aren't
Listen,
that hot.
Listen.
Tell them.
First of all, I don't even know nothing about this show. No disrespect to your show.
Okay.
This ain't the love I'm want to vibe with.
So Khaled said that he was done trying to eat the wings and he was just flipping
Oh,
the
so
show on its head
ridiculous.
entirely and low-key being disrespectful to Sean. Even with all of this, Sean still kept the interview going and let Khaled plug whatever he wanted to at the end. But while Sean was relatively nice about Khaled completely ditching the show's structure, Hot Ones fans and Khaled haters alike were not. Almost every single comment on this video was shitting on Khaled for being soft and pretty much disrespectful.
Thoroughly
Also,
taking
as
it out was hilarious.
this interview. Honestly, I'm surprised at how much backlash he got from this video. Personally, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It was just kind of funny, but people were actually really mad about this. Later on, Sean was asked about the experience on multiple shows where he gave a pretty honest reflection. One time was on Pardon My Take where they asked Sean who he thinks was the worst interview.
Yep. And I think a good example of that is we had DJ Khaled come in super early, and then he tapped out on the third wing, like completely rejected the format of the show, like before it even started.
That guy doesn't eat anything.
Yeah. And, well, you know what? I remember a memory that I have of that is like walking into the studio, and before we laid down the wings or anything, he was already eating pizza. And I remember being like, dude, we're about to eat these wings. He's like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
It's surprising, but this wasn't really a big deal at all, especially to Sean. However, fans hated DJ Khaled for this so much. I made a video actually about why so many people hate DJ Khaled, and one of the top comments is, for me, him bailing from Hot Ones was another huge show of his inability to take heat or have humility. So yeah, this interview ended up biting Khaled in the butt for sure. And while Sean Evans is typically viewed as a very good interviewer, these next two
Pretty
interviews
base
went wrong
fucking
entirely
comment.
because of the poor interview skills of none other than Ebro. If you don't know much about Ebro, he's been a radio personality covering hip-hop and rap music for about 2 decades now. And in his time covering the industry, like many others in this video, Ebro has had plenty of controversies over the years, mostly due to his stronger opinions. And by the end of this section, you'll probably understand why I don't really like him at all. One of his first major controversies was with Lil Uzi Vert back in 2016. Around this time, Uzi was pretty well known already, but after the release of Money Longer, his career was going way bigger than it was before. And with this newfound level of attention, Uzi started attracting some bigger interviews. including the one with Ebro, which was less than a month after the release of Money Longer. The interview started like most, with Ebro complimenting Uzi on how far he's come as a young artist and some other basic questions. But then the vibe started to change when Ebro gave Uzi a relatively older type of beat to rap on. Uzi basically criticized the beat, saying he was too young to rap on it, and that's when Ebro, especially along with some of his co-hosts, started acting a little different towards Uzi. They pretty much started making everything about Uzi's age in a pretty demeaning type of way. Then when Uzi described older rap as simple, which he clarified wasn't a bad thing at all, Ebro got mad and blamed drugs for why everything sounds how it does now.
We are? Yeah, y'all simple and that's cool. Y'all fine with, I'm fine with, that's cool.
We didn't do the pills, y'all.
That's what it is.
We just smoked weed.
Yeah.
And then maybe our parents, like, maybe our uncle did some crack and there was some heroin in there.
Yeah.
Like, it was straightforward stuff. You know what I'm saying? It was cocaine, crack, heroin, it was weed. Done.
But immediately, Paul Rosenberg, the level-headed goat, pointed out the slight hypocrisy of this statement, explaining that the old people used to do crack and heroin, so it's not a much better substitute than pills. Then for some reason, they were just hung up on the drug stuff, and that's what like half the interview was about. They just kept pushing these questions on Uzi. And as the interview continued on, Ebro kept placing labels on Uzi, which often felt like a way to demean him. Then it came time to rap again, and Ebro tried to push the old beat again, which following the previous tension caused things to go south, leading to the viral Rockstar conversation.
Yeah, that was supposed
to. So you gonna get to these bars?
If you pull up, I'm telling you right now, if you pull up one of them old beats, I'm not rapping on it. Straight up. You see me, bro? I am a rock star, bro. I'm not rapping on that type stuff.
We'll decide.
Let me hear it, and I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know.
He's at least being honest.
Yeah. My
All
fans,
right, so
my
fair
fans
enough.
won't be disappointed. They get it.
No, they will.
No, they
but
won't.
I hope I piss your friends
Your
off.
fans gonna be disappointed. all the old guys.
They don't give a
They're
fuck.
gonna be. Yeah, they don't
No,
even know why
what
I'm
they'll
on
be-
here right now.
What they'll be disappointed is if you get up here in these bars, you spit is trash, and I don't tell you they trash. So let's get to these raps since you're so nice.
But Uzi played along and rapped on the beat anyways. Ebro tried to make this a bit of a joking situation, but they turned personal when the topic of his career longevity came up. Oh, and Ebro just straight up called Uzi small, which, I don't know, it's just like he was roasting him the whole interview. It was kind of an unpleasant type of vibe.
I'm making. I don't know, man.
I mean, I respect
It's
the
cool.
fact you fell off at the end.
Yeah.
You
Put another beat on. Shit.
Nah, because all I got is old man beats, and you're not built for
Hey,
that.
listen. It's gonna be a lot of young guys coming up here, and they ain't gonna want to rap on that. I'm trying to tell you, it's changing.
Yo, look.
It's changing.
I hope they change.
It's changing, bro.
I hope they change. I hope they change. But as I've seen with all you little young motherfuckers that think you nice.
Yeah.
He is pretty nice.
You nice.
Yeah, I'm good.
Y'all get to like 27, 28, and y'all niggas get to struggling, and y'all be trying to come back
tell
and
you
find
what,
that sound.
I ain't gonna struggle, bro.
All right, we're gonna see.
I don't even-
see. Oh, you gonna learn.
And guess what? I'm gonna be here.
Yeah. It's gonna be totally different too. Like I'm gonna be all the way a rock star by then.
But the interview went back to sort of normal with Ebro's co-host sticking up for Uzi, because it was pretty obvious Ebro was just out for Uzi the entire interview. After this interview dropped, the fans were not having it at all. Pretty much everyone in the comments was calling Ebro a hater or an old head for coming at Uzi for basically no reason. They specifically pointed out how lame it is to resist change when music is always changing. Then, as years went by, Ebro's claims that Uzi would fade overnight aged ironically. In 2024 footage from a panel Ebro was on in 2022, he was asked what he thinks about Uzi all these years later. And you'd think that because Uzi went on to have a massively successful career, diamond songs, gold songs, platinum songs, all these things, that Ebro would have changed his mind. But no, he just doubled down in his ignorance and stupid statements.
Success is your question for Ebro. What are your thoughts on Uzi's success?
I love Uzi Vert. I feel like, you know, he still has to become the rock star he said he would become there. I'm still waiting. You know, because the rock star, listen, maybe I took it literal, but rock stars, the rock stars I know, they were selling out MetLife Stadium. They can sell out Madison Square Garden 8, 10 times. They got hits on the radio everywhere, songs is everywhere. So he told me he was gonna become a rock star. So most people that come up to me and talk to me about Uzi Vert now was probably like 10 years old at that time, was just getting into the internet. They was tight, they was mad that I did that to Uzi Vert. And like I said before, time will tell. Where you at, my guy?
this was pretty crazy to me because it just felt like he was denying reality. And soon after, even Uzi responded with a since deleted Instagram post previewing the track list for Eternal Take 2, with all the songs being hidden besides number 15, which was titled Chill Ebro. And while the song never officially released, Uzi dropped a snippet on his IG story with the lyrics, "I'm the rock star that I said I was going to be, Ebro chill, Ebro chill." However, in a later interview with Complex, Uzi explained the meaning behind Ebro chill along with where they stand today, which makes it seem like the two are fine. But that may not be the case for Ebro and Kodak Black, who had a much more controversial and heated interview. Back in 2018, Kodak Black went on Ebro in the morning, and Ebro started in...
Here it is. The Mount Rushmore of hate and ass niggas in the rap game is Joe Budden, Charlemagne, Ebro, and who's that other dude? DJ Academic sometimes.
In a very unique fashion.
That's where I'm putting it. That's where I'm putting my
pointing out
chips.
Kodak's public mistakes and saying that he wasn't even thinking about interviewing him at first anyway.
First of all, I gotta be honest, I was skeptical on doing this interview. I saw your other interviews where he's wearing like a ski mask and all that, and I was like, I'm not really interested in talking to this. But I gotta say, I looked at your rap sheet, I looked at your weed charges, smoking weed in front of your kid on the gram, and different things you've been going through. And I know it's sensitive, but how you feel about everything that's going on?
I got big wings, so I'm talking about the devil be on my heels, but I got big wings.
This is a really weird way to start an interview, but regardless, Kodak kept calm and the interview continued on. For most of the interview, things were fine, and most of the awkward energy had faded, but that changed real fast after Ebro brought up Kodak's SA case.
Look, man, at this point, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. You know, looking at all your cases and everything you've been through, and I know the recent one right now is very sensitive. And with respect to, you know, everybody involved in that case, you know, we can't get into details today. But, you know, we take sexual assault here serious. And we can't, you know, get into details, but we hope, you know, to have you back so we can have a deeper conversation about that because, you know, this is a serious topic. We're hearing these stories a lot.
One thing we were talking about on the show today that for some reason I just have a hunch that you would care about. The idea that landing on the moon was a conspiracy. Kodak, do you believe that our moon landing in 1969 actually took place?
What the fuck y'all talking about?
You seem upset that I brought it up.
I feel like sometimes when niggas like be going through shit, like y'all be entertained by bullshit. You know what I'm talking about? Or like change the subject on from the walk out.
We'll change what subject?
Just whatever. Like,
well, no, they tried to change the subject. They was talking about the moon landing.
That's bullshit too. So talk about something else.
Well, I was saying, I think...
We don't have to talk about nothing else. We could be done right here.
All right, we're going.
We saw Paul try to change the subject, you know, keep things lighthearted, but Kodak was already pissed. And I don't know what Ebro's problem is, but he's always like mean mugging his guests, getting angry all the time. He's just the worst. I don't like his interviews, I'm sorry. The comments were...
He'd be like, with all due respect.
Saying that what he did was totally unprofessional and that it seems like he had something against Kodak from the start. Since Kodak was being accused of some pretty serious stuff at the time, most people weren't really sticking up for Kodak in particular, but they did point out how Kodak handled the situation maturely and that he just got ambushed. Plus, think about it, if you have an ongoing SA case, you're not going to want to talk about it in some interview. Since Ebro received tons of flack for the viral interview, he actually put out a tweet defending himself, and the next day he addressed everything on the show. And while his co-hosts agreed that the SA case should have been brought up, they also pointed out that Ebro handled the situation the wrong way and should have went about it differently.
I still don't think you handled it right, but I do think you did the right thing. I just think the delivery of it was such that there could have been a balance in which it didn't go the way it went. Like, I still think you were defensive, and I think you puffed your chest up at him, and I think that's when things got
when I
bad.
brought up the sexual assault?
Yeah.
When I was saying, like, when I sat there and I was like, hopefully you could come back, you think I puffed my chest up at that point?
I think that part was nice. No, I thought that part was good, but then when you go back to the Yo, you
He
see
just cursed at y'all for trying to make a joke, bro.
I understand
Like,
that.
I don't agree
I'm
with
not
those
gonna let that.
opinions.
I'm not letting that fly.
They eventually got Ebro to admit that he was kind of in the wrong for being negative the whole time, and other artists even reacted to this interview too, like Trick Daddy, who said, Ebro, you're supposed to get these guys and put them under your wing and teach them right from wrong, but your bitch ass, you're trying to be a fake ass Charlemagne. There's only one Charlemagne the God. And then a few days later, Kodak was on The Breakfast Club, where he gave his perspective on how everything went down, which, as you can probably guess, he wasn't too happy to talk about it.
Now, we saw you having a rough time yesterday in the interview. What about that line of questioning pissed you off?
See, listen, I knew y'all was gonna try to bring that shit up. I would curry that shit and say fuck that. I don't want to talk about that fuck nigga. But at the same time, but listen, at the same time, this is an interview, so but it's like the shit was going so. Like, it was going so good. I felt like people don't want to see this happy Kodak, happy go lucky Kodak, vibing, cooling and shit. And like the interview was about to end so good. It was just like, nah, I want to see Yak. You know what I'm talking about? I want him to spit in my face or tear this whole radio station up.
Kodak went on to explain that he left the interview to avoid crashing out on Ebro's bitch ass, but since there's not been much news since then, it can only be assumed that Kodak and
Ebro's
Ebro
bitch
probably
ass.
aren't the biggest fans of each other. Let me know what you think the craziest interview in this video was, or if I missed some other crazy interviews. I know there's the one where like the guy shot himself. That was crazy. I just didn't think there was much of a story to go off there. If you guys like this video, you might like my video about Breakfast Club interviews that went wrong. There's plenty of those, as you can see. You know, there's some in this video even. So make sure to check that out as well. It's on screen right now. Other than that, though, if you guys enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and even consider subscribing down below.
Oh my god, bro. I might watch this most intense arguments in Breakfast Club history. It seems pretty interesting, honestly. But, alas. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I think it's a short stream kind of night. Chilling, we're vibing. But until fucking next time.